The French. Um, the French. God, what did I watch? What did I watch? I watched this last night, and I was just like, I have things to do. I have to like process what I watched before I review it. You know, it's one of those movies. It's not one of those where it's like, I watch it anyway, guys. It's like this, da da da. This was like, hold on a second. Oh my god. So, oh, my marquee's still stuck on Dune. Anyway, so I just watched Titan with an E at the end because it's French. It's the new like French body horror movie. Da da da. Like that's what drew me in. Was like, they're like, there's a new French movie out, and it's like about body horror, and I was like, well, yes, I am interested. I myself am body horror itself, so let's do this. Look, before I go into spoilers, so simply, God, how do I even simply? Okay, yeah, so this movie is about someone who. How do I like give you a plot like a quick summary without? Oh my god! Anyway, this is the movie about a young person who says that they are someone's child when they are not, and then things happen. Okay, I feel like that's the simplest way of putting it without giving anything away. But again, before I go into, you know, the spoilers, I like the movie. I just feel like it was just so much like happening in the movie that it wasn't like enough for me to be like, oh shit, this is the thing, you know, because this is definitely in like in the weird category of like, yes, it's horror, but yes, it's also kind of like, you can say it could be perceived art house-y just because it's like how it's like shot and all that stuff, and like the story is so outrageous, like that kind of stuff. Like this is a little bit like leaning more towards Mandy than it is like Midsummer. Like I guess you would say when it comes to like a strange movie that just makes you go, what the fuck did I just watch? And it was funny because like the day before I watched Lamb. And again, it's like, okay, again, it's A24, foreign language, art house. And I'm like, okay. I wanted a little more, so it wasn't much to say. I was just like, alright, cool. Just watched a little, like, anthropomorphic, like, lamb. Cool. That was my day, you know? And then yesterday, I was like, alright, it's time to put in Titan. Let's see how this goes. And I was like, you know, whereas, like, I watched Lamb, and it made me go, okay, who fucked a sheep to create this child? You would think my week wouldn't get weirder than that, weirder than that, but this happened. Anyway, okay, I have to go into spoilers because there's no other way for me to talk about this. Alright, like I said, if you're into, like, weird what the fuck kind of movies, sure. You know, because if you know you're getting into a kind of movie, totally, go right ahead, watch this movie. If movies that are like this, kind of like, you know, I would say don't, you know. But of course, if you're curious by this reaction, go right ahead. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, spoilers. So, spoilers. What the fuck? So, okay, so this movie starts out, like, you know, some little kid is in, like, in the backseat of a car, and she's just, like, mimicking the engine, like, whatever, right? She does what little kids do, and is a little shit in the car, and doesn't behave by sitting there and just not fucking back. Undoes the seatbelt, starts climbing around. Of course, the dad is like, yo, can you stop? You know, kid gets fucked up, has to get, like, a metal plate in their head, you know, and then you see it a lot, like the preview shots of like a child in like one of those like the neck cage things, just like you know, what like football players end up getting when the concussion goes too far, you know. Anyway, so the person constantly has like a scar on them, right? You know, shit happens. The kid leaves the hospital, completely like whatever to the parents, and then goes and like hugs the car and kisses it, and you're like, okay, whatever, like kids are weird, right? flash forward to this person as an adult, and it's like some kind of car show and stuff. And you know, a lot of times car shows, there's like hot girls like being like, look at this car, look at that car. I've never seen, like, I've been to a few car shows, and like the main thing is like, don't touch the car, because it's, you know, people have put so much money into like, you know, either like souping up old cars or like full Fast and the Furious, like current cars kind of shit, where it's like, don't touch the car. And this bitch is here like on top of the car, like twerking her fucking, like literally her skinny ass is like like going crazy. I was like, okay honey, I guess you had something there to be twerking. Like she was like, oh god, I felt like it was like, when, you know, when you're a kid and you just like put your pillow like underneath your shirt or something. I don't know. It just felt like that's what was happening. I was just like, anyway, that has nothing to do with the movie. So yeah, she's like dancing all over this car, like practically fucking the car. And I'm like, man, this is like, I was watching this part and I was like, man, this is like the weirdest episode of My Strange Addiction. Because, like, you know, there's like the one where the guy was like, I'm in an intimate relationship with my car. And you're like, okay, and do you, honey, as long as you're happy. I mean, it's weird, but fine. You're not hurting anyone. I mean, your father feels like a failed parent, but, you know, that's his own problem. And so you're like, fine, right? You know, and like, you know, when she's like done with like her dance and all that stuff, the guys are like, I need your autograph. And it's like, all right, that's how guys are. And, you know, it's like a warehouse thing, like full of, you know, like, you know, great, like souped up cars, hot girls, dancing, all that stuff. And then it's like, okay, fine. She leaves the place, you know, because it's her job. She leaves in the night, and some dude comes up. He's like, oh my god, I waited all night, blah, blah, blah. Let me get your autograph. And she's like, fine. And then, you know, like they proceed to kind of like make out. And then like she has like one of those like hair thingies, you know, whatever sticks. I don't know. Even when I had long hair, I was like, that's not what I did anyway. I mean, I wasn't really that much of a lady to begin with. So she takes out, stabs a guy. I do like, though, that with the neck stab and the because normally when they do a neck stab, immediately it's blood and it's like, you know, that kind of stuff. But this one, they decide to just have like just bile, like just drool. I was like, okay, that's a little different, you know. So she kind of like just get rid of his body, but it's like she was so calm in doing that. Like it wasn't just like a moment of like, oh god, I'm so sick of these gross guys like coming after me, blah blah blah. But it's just like, bitch, you've done this before. Then like the next day, you know, she oh wait, no, before I almost skipped the important part that starts off the what the fuck. So, you know, she gets rid of the body, yada yada. She's got the guys like on her, so she goes back into her job to shower. For some reason, well, you know, it's a French movie, so it's like full nudity, you see everything kind of stuff. And okay, fine. Also, it's horror, so it's like you're definitely gonna see like a naked female body kind of stuff. She leaves the shower, no towel, you know, just, you know, air dry her ass off. And then, well, because you hear like a ka-kunk noise. You're like, what the fuck? She goes to like the open garage thing, and the car that she was like twerking her ass off on top of is there, like full like 90s style, like hydraulic kind of fucking thing. And it's like, all right, you know, because I know like those still exist in some car shows, like where they have like a you know, they have the measuring thing and how high your car jumps. I've seen ones where like you know, something in a hubcap flies and you're like, oh my god. Anyway, so she just kind of like approaches the car, like, okay. Then she gets like into the car, the back seat, and all of a sudden like the car starts doing this again. And at first I was like, oh haha, like, you know, I'm thinking like some other, like the owner of the car, like a gentleman is in the car, or someone, or person, or lady, you know, even is in there, and they're having good times, and that's like, you know, the joke that, like, you know, they're fucking. But then they cut to her inside the vehicle. Her arms are like strapped up to whatever on the back seat, and it just filmed from like me, like this, like filmed up, and she's just like, ah! Like she is like, you know, having a good time, you know. She's like, oh my god. like, I'm just like, ma'am, you know? I'm like, you're in the back seat, like, what's fucking you back there, you know? Like, the gear shift is way too, I mean, unless it's a very big gear shift, and, you know, like, even then, like, how does that work? Anyway, so she fucks a car. Remember how I said, wow, this is the weirdest episode of My Strange Addiction? I thought that as a joke, and then when this happened, I was like, oh my god, it's actually happening. Oh, fucking balls. So then, like, yeah, so then, it turns out, like, there's been a slew of, like, killings happening, and it's like, well, like I said, the girl, like, you know, you could tell she's like, oh, I'm just so used to stabby stab. I mean, you know, do you, honey, right? So, oh, then it was like, then she goes to, like, some party, and she's, like, making out with this girl that she, like, works with at the car thing, and in the midst of making out, she decides to, like, kill her. And then it's like, like, at first it's like, oh, we're near the water, it's just you and I. Maybe, like, I'm thinking, like, just dump the body in the water. But, like, she goes back to, like, this place, and there's, like, 5 other people. I mean, kudos for having that kind of, like, you know, balls for it, because she, like, kills the one girl, someone walks in on it, and then it's, like, one after another kills everyone in the house. Good on you, ma'am. One dude, she, like, he's like, ah, and she puts, like, a stool in his mouth, and then she, like, sits on him, and she's like, whew, it's been a long night. Like, wow, okay. Sure. And one chick ended up, like, escaping, so then the next day, you know, obviously, like, her, you know, they're, like, obviously they went to the police, and they're like, we're looking for this person, there's a slew of killing, and she's like, oh god, I have to, you know, like, this is when the story goes from, you're initially like, okay, you're, what, like, the story is kind of like, I'm following, wait, what? Like, it just gets weirder. So then, so she wakes up, she's like, oh, I feel kind of weird, you know? And, like, her dad's kind of, like, pressing her stomach, and she's like, no, it's weird. And you notice, like, her legs are really, like her inner thighs and stuff, it's really bruised up. I'm like, I don't know, it's probably from slamming your body on a car, how you're dancing and stuff. And you also see, like a panty shot, and at first you're like, is it, like, blood? But it's, like, really dark, you know? And then, like, yeah, she, like, had stuck her hand down her pants and pulled it out, and it wasn't blood, it was, like, black. And you're like, is that what, you know, I'm not gonna think about that right now. And, so yeah, like, she's like, I gotta leave, you know, I'm a fugitive now, because you see on, like, the advertisements and stuff, and it's like, this person has gone missing, like, the guy she killed initially, and then it was like, we're looking for someone who looks like this, and it's like, oh shit. So she's like, you know, the thing you normally see in these movies where, like, the person, like, has a bag of stuff, they're in, like, the bathroom, and they're like, what do I do? It's either, like, they either, like, dye the hair, or they're, like, just start cutting all their hair off and all that stuff. So she cuts, like, all her hair and all that stuff. And then, like, she has, like, no eyebrows. And then she proceeds to break her nose on the sink, which I was like, well, she was trying to break her nose by, like, punching her. Like, I don't really have a nose bridge, because that's how Asian I am. But she was like, and then she, like, ah, damn it. And then it was, like, the side of the sink. And then she's like, what if I just... And then she's just like, oh, and just like, I was like, ma'am, you know? Oh, and then she gets, like, a ace bandage, and she goes to, like, strap down her breast, which, like, the size of her boobs that she has, I'm just like, if you just bought, like, a really shitty, like, sports bra from, like, Target or something, it would do the same thing, but whatever. She's doing that. Oh, we notice that her stomach's starting to stick out, like, ma'am, you preggers? Like, oh, she did take, like, a pregnancy test. Oh my god, yes, she took a pregnancy test in, like, that house, and then it you know, says she's pregnant, and then her hair stabby thing, she proceeds to underneath, and I'm like, that's not how no, ma'am. She's like, and I'm like, I know what kind of artwork I make, but I just no, you know, like, Like, I recently did, like, a flea market thing, and I arrived with a box of fetuses in jars. But my god, ma'am, none of these are real in this box. But anyway, it's just like... Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, so she starts, like, you know, bandaging her breast and then bandaging her stomach. Ends up going to, like, a police station and is like, I am this person's long-lost son. That kind of thing. I think there was a slight weird translation thing that it took me a second to understand, because, again, this is in French, and I have to read subtitles, and my brain is dumb, you know, because I'm an American, so, like, reading, what's that? Yeah, so the guy is like, oh my god, this is my son, I'm not going to take a DNA test, you know, whatever, that's because that's how the plot moves along. The guy is, like, you know, I think he's, like, the captain of a firehouse and all that stuff, and he's like an old dude, but he's, like, in pretty good shape. Well, you learn that he's in pretty good shape because he's, like, injecting steroids in his booty, like, a lot. You know, at first I was like, what the hell? Oh, steroids, right. Because I was like, I don't think people... This is me being just, you know, a sweet summer child, as people would call it. Because initially I was like, you know... most people don't take insulin like that. Thinking it's like, oh, he's got diabetes. Like, no, dumbass. Oh, right. Anyway, so the people at the firehouse are, like, weirded out by the son now. It's a son. Because it's like he's mute, because of course, like, you know, she's not gonna speak because she doesn't really have, like, a voice like this, you know. And then she's wearing a lot of baggy clothes, coming, you know, very male presenting and all that shit. And so she's going around mute, you know. Everyone's like, hey man, like, you're his son, like, blah blah blah, and, like, some of them are like, I don't know, there's something wrong with you, da da da. It was just like a lot of, like the plot of whenever someone is trying to, you know, be someone else, and there's always that sleuth kind of thing. Anyway, so fine, weird stuff. So, like, increasingly, like, the main character is like, oh my god, this part where she's, like, scratching, and it's so, like loud. I'm like, stop, Jesus Christ. Like, I know I've gotten, like, mosquito bites where you're just, like, gnawing at your skin, but, like, I was just like, ma'am, please stop, you know. Yeah, and then what else happens? I'm like, part of me is like, when did my brain completely check out of this? Yeah, so he ends up, yeah, I guess you're going with, yeah. So he ends up helping out in the firehouse with I guess, his new dad, or like a perceived father, and, you know, again, the people in the firehouse are just like, oh, like, okay, like, you're pretty much volunteer firefighter, but you didn't have to go through the training because you're, like, thin as hell, because the rest are, you know, firefighters, you know, that kind of shit. Oh yeah, they start having fun. What the fuck else happened? Oh yeah, so, like, the wife, you know, shows up, and the guy is like, oh, this is our son, you know, this is our son, blah blah blah, and she's like, okay, like, she's just like, whatever. And then there's one part where it's like she opens the door and sees that, you know, that she's full, like, breasts are swelling and her stomach is, like, out to here, and, like, she's like, I'm not gonna tell him, you know, that you're lying to him, you know. She's like, I'm gonna not, you know, like, I'm not gonna reveal your secret, but you better take care of him, like, kind of like, I don't want to be involved in this, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so, like, as her stomach keeps growing, like, oh my god, there's one part where, like, she's doing the scratching thing, and there's a hole in her stomach. She doesn't see it, because it's kind of, like, on the under end. There's a hole, and then she ends up sticking her finger in it, and I was like, you know, as someone who has scars from surgery over their stomach, and I'm like, like, I'm just, like, thinking about, like, oh, Jesus Christ, my tum-tum, you know. Yeah, oh, and then, like, then her, like, breasts start leaking, and then, like, she's trying to, like, squeeze out the stuff from her titty, and, yeah, okay, before, I was trying not to think about it, you know, when I was first, initially at that part of the movie, when I first watched it, but when we got to this part, I was like, okay, So you fucked a car. Now you've got fucking black motor oil shit leaking out of your titty and your wound. And what is like, how? Again, I thought it was weird that watching Lamb, you're like, what humanoid or whatever fuck the sheep to create this child. Now I'm like, fuck that at least kind of makes sense. You know, throw that out the door. Now it's like, this bitch has sex with a car in some capacity or another, and then she ends up, what, like what kind, is this Cars 3? Cars 4? Is this the cussy stuff that Hassan has been talking about? Like, what is this? I don't understand. And so, like, things, like, kind of progress more in the movie, and it just becomes more of, like, the relationship stuff. But really, who cares about the relationship between the son and father, right? That's not the thing we care about. What the fuck is happening in her stomach? So, finally, she, like, stuff happens. She ends up revealing, you know, like, her body and all that stuff to the dad, and the guy was just like, by then they've, like, connected and all that stuff, that he's like, I don't care, I'm here for you, you know, that kind of stuff. And he was just kind of like, alright, let me help you deliver this baby. And he's like, come on, push. And as she's pushing, her stomach is, like, splitting, and it looks like a fucking, like, chrome, you know, dome kind of thing, like, in her stomach, just skin just splitting, her scar thing where her plate is that splitting, and she ends up dying because she's, like, split apart, you know. And then, like, the movie ends with, like, you know, the dad holding the baby, and the baby has, like, fucking the devil's backbone going on, but instead of it just being a protruding, you know, like, spine, it's a freaking, you know, like, chrome metal spine. The end. That's the movie. What the fuck did I just watch? Oh, and in between that, oh my god, before she gives birth, there's one night where she's in one of the fire trucks and she fucks the fire truck because she's in the back and she's like, ah! You know, she's jizzing herself over a fire truck, you know, and then, yeah, because she, anyway, she gives birth to, what? How is that possible? Again, I'm like, oh, someone fucked a sheep? That makes more sense. How is that my thought process? And then it's like, oh, this bitch just had a wild night with a car, you know, and then this happens, and then she's like, well, actually, before I give birth to, what? Like, is that Christine? Is that how Christine is made? You know? Then she's like, oh, fire truck. Yes. And she's like, ah, what fire truck? What? What? What did I just witness? What did I just fucking witness? As I said in the beginning, the French. Oh, the French. I don't know what list this movie's making on for my, like, 2021 list. It's definitely not worse. I don't know if it's gonna hit the best, but it's definitely on the what the fuck kind of thing. You know, again, the day before I watched Lamb, and I was like, okay, it's kind of a slow burn, and foreign language, it's kind of weird, but it's shot pretty, okay. Let me put on Titane. Alright. I just witnessed all that. I witnessed all that, and then I told you all that. And that was a movie that happened. That was it. That was Titane. My brain is broken. Is this what Vin Diesel was talking about with the whole, like, cars and family? I still need to watch, like, freaking Fast and Furious 9. God. Oh, God, not after this movie. No. I need some time before that, because that's gonna be weird. Oh, God. Make it go away. Make it go away. Go away.